The night the sky turned blood red, a poor farmer made a decision that would change his life forever. He was hungry, his family was hungry, and deep inside a dark forest, he was about to meet a mysterious old wizard who would offer him something no human should ever possess: a magical power, a power that could create wealth, a power that could save lives, a power that could destroy everything. But there was one condition, one simple condition that would test his heart more than any enemy ever could. And when he finally broke that condition, the consequences shook an entire kingdom. This is the story of a poor farmer named Ethan, a story of magic, sacrifice, greed, courage, and destiny. So sit back and listen carefully, because sometimes the greatest gift can become the greatest curse. Long ago, in a small village surrounded by mountains and endless fields, lived a poor farmer named Ethan. Every morning before sunrise, he woke to the sound of cold winds rattling the wooden walls of his tiny house. His home was old. The roof leaked whenever it rained. The floorboards creaked beneath every step, and the food in the kitchen was often barely enough for a single meal. Ethan lived there with his wife, Sarah, and their young daughter, Lily. Despite their poverty, they loved each other deeply. But love alone could not fill empty stomachs. For years, Ethan worked the land. He planted crops. He carried water. He repaired fences. He worked until his hands bled. Yet every harvest seemed worse than the one before. Droughts destroyed crops. Storms ruined fields. Pests ate what little remained. No matter how hard he worked, misfortune always found him. One evening, Ethan sat quietly beside a weak fire. Sarah divided a small loaf of bread into 3 pieces. She gave the largest piece to Lily. The smallest piece she kept for herself. Ethan stared at the bread. His heart felt heavy. "Eat yours," Sarah whispered. "I'm not hungry." But Ethan knew she was lying. Parents always know, and husbands know too. That night he could not sleep. He listened to the wind outside. He listened to his daughter breathing softly. And he wondered how much longer his family could survive. Then something strange happened. A loud knock echoed through the darkness. Knock, knock, knock. Ethan froze. Nobody visited houses after midnight, especially during winter. He slowly opened the door. Outside stood an old man. His beard was long and silver. His cloak was covered with strange symbols. His eyes glowed faintly blue. Snowflakes drifted around him, yet none touched his clothes. It was as if the snow itself avoided him. The old man smiled. "Good evening, Ethan." Ethan's heart skipped a beat. "I don't know you." "But I know you," the old man replied. "And I know you're suffering." A chill ran down Ethan's spine. "Who are you?" The old man looked toward the dark forest beyond the village. "Some call me a wizard." The wind suddenly stopped. The entire world became silent. Ethan stared. He wanted to laugh, yet something deep inside him knew the old man spoke the truth. The wizard extended a wrinkled hand. "Walk with me." Ethan hesitated, but curiosity overcame fear. Quietly, he followed the mysterious stranger into the forest. The deeper they walked, the stranger the world became. Trees glowed with blue light. Fireflies floated like stars. The air hummed with invisible energy. Eventually, they reached a clearing. At its center stood a giant ancient tree. Its trunk was wider than a house. Golden leaves shimmered in the moonlight. The wizard stopped. "This tree is older than kings." Ethan looked around nervously. "What do you want from me?" The wizard smiled. "Nothing." He reached into his cloak and removed a crystal. The crystal glowed with silver light. It looked like a tiny star trapped in glass. "I wish to give you a gift." Ethan frowned. "Why me?" The wizard's eyes softened. "Because power reveals character." "What does that mean?" "It means a good man becomes better." The wizard paused. "And a bad man becomes worse." The crystal floated into the air. Energy swirled around it. The forest began glowing brighter. Birds awakened. Leaves danced without wind. The wizard spoke ancient words Ethan could not understand. The crystal exploded into countless particles of light. The particles rushed toward Ethan. Before he could move, they entered his chest. A surge of energy shot through his body. His vision blurred. His heart pounded. Then everything became quiet. Very quiet. Ethan looked at his hands. Golden light flowed beneath his skin. "What have you done?" The wizard answered calmly. "I have given you the gift of growth." "The gift of growth? Anything living that you touch can flourish." Ethan stared in disbelief. The wizard continued, "A dying plant may bloom. A weak animal may recover. A barren field may become fertile."
For a while, Ethan believed his troubles were finally over. The harvest was unlike anything the village had ever seen. Golden wheat stretched across the fields like an endless ocean. Fruit trees bent under the weight of sweet apples and pears. Vegetables grew larger than anyone thought possible. People came from distant towns just to witness the miracle. And wherever they went, they told the same story. The poor farmer's land is blessed. The gods have favored him. Magic lives in his fields. The rumors spread farther and farther. Soon merchants arrived with wagons full of gold. They offered Ethan enormous amounts of money for his crops. For the first time in his life, Ethan had more coins than he could count. His family no longer worried about food. Lily received new clothes. Sarah decorated their home with flowers. The future looked bright. But while happiness filled Ethan's home, something dark awakened far away. Beyond the mountains stood Blackthorn Castle. Its towers pierced the clouds. Its walls were black as coal. Few people dared speak about the man who lived there. His name was Lord Malric, a powerful nobleman, a ruthless collector of magical artifacts, and a man obsessed with immortality. One evening Malric sat inside his throne room. Candles flickered along stone walls. A servant rushed inside. "My lord." Malric slowly lifted his head. "What is it?" The servant swallowed nervously. "There are rumors from the western villages." Malric narrowed his eyes. "What rumors?" The servant trembled. "A farmer who makes dead fields bloom." The room suddenly fell silent. Malric stood. His dark cloak brushed against the floor. "What did you say?" The servant repeated the story. With every word, Malric's smile grew wider. At last, he laughed. A cold laugh, the kind that made people uncomfortable. "After all these years," his eyes sparkled with greed, "I finally found it." The next morning he summoned his army. Dozens of armored riders gathered in the castle courtyard. Malric mounted his black horse. "We ride west." Meanwhile, Ethan remained unaware of the danger approaching. He spent his days helping villagers. Whenever crops failed, he secretly used his gift. Whenever animals became sick, he healed them. People admired him. Children waved when he walked through town. The villagers even built a small statue in his honor. Yet something strange began happening. Each time Ethan used his power, he felt weaker afterward. At first, it was barely noticeable. A little fatigue, a slight headache, nothing serious. But the feeling slowly grew stronger. One afternoon, he touched an entire orchard to save it from disease. Moments later, he nearly collapsed. His vision blurred. His legs shook. Sarah caught him before he fell. "Ethan!" "I'm fine," he lied. But deep inside, fear began growing. That night he remembered the wizard's warning. Never use the gift for greed. What exactly did that mean? And why did the power seem to drain his strength? The questions haunted him. Unfortunately, answers would have to wait, because danger had already entered the kingdom. 3 days later, Lord Malric arrived in the village. The villagers immediately sensed something wrong. His soldiers filled the streets. Their armor gleamed beneath the sun. Their swords looked razor-sharp. Children ran indoors. Doors slammed shut. Fear spread like wildfire. Malric dismounted his horse. His eyes scanned the village. Then he smiled. "Find the farmer." Within minutes, soldiers brought Ethan before him. The two men stared at each other. Ethan felt uncomfortable immediately. There was something cold behind Malric's smile, something dangerous. "So," Malric said, "you are the miracle farmer." "I am Ethan." Malric slowly walked around him. "Tell me about your gift." Ethan's heartbeat quickened. "I don't know what you're talking about." The nobleman chuckled. "Please." He pointed toward the incredible fields. "Do you think I am blind?" Ethan remained silent. Malric leaned closer. "I can make you rich beyond imagination." "No." The answer came instantly. The nobleman's smile faded slightly. "I haven't even made an offer." "I don't want one." For several seconds, nobody spoke. Then Malric laughed. "A good man." He turned away. "But good men are usually easy to break." With that, he mounted his horse and left. Yet Ethan knew the encounter was not over. And he was right. That same night, a fire erupted near the village. Villagers screamed. Smoke filled the air. Ethan rushed outside. Several homes burned fiercely. People carried buckets of water. Children cried. Amid the chaos, Ethan noticed something strange. Masked men, watching, smiling, Malric's men. It wasn't an accident. It was a warning. By sunrise, half the village had been destroyed. Fortunately, nobody died. But the message was clear. Malric wanted the power, and
The sun had not yet risen when Ethan said goodbye to his family. The village was silent. A cold mist drifted across the fields. Sarah held Lily tightly while Ethan prepared his horse. Neither of them wanted him to leave, but all three understood the truth. If Ethan failed, Lord Malric would eventually find the World Tree. And if that happened, countless lives could be lost. Sarah stepped forward and held Ethan's hand. "Come back to us." Ethan forced a smile. "I promise." But deep inside, he wasn't sure if he could keep that promise. The road ahead was filled with danger. As the first rays of sunlight touched the horizon, Ethan rode east toward the mountains. His adventure had begun. For 3 days, he traveled through forests and valleys. The farther he went, the stranger the world became. Ancient ruins appeared among the trees. Mysterious symbols were carved into rocks. At night, he heard sounds that did not belong to any animal he knew. Sometimes he felt as though unseen eyes were watching him, and perhaps they were. Because far behind him, Lord Malric's spies followed every step. They remained hidden, waiting, watching, reporting everything back to their master. On the 4th day, Ethan entered Shadowwood Forest. According to old legends, nobody who entered Shadowwood ever returned. The trees were enormous. Their twisted branches blocked most of the sunlight. Fog covered the ground like a ghostly river. Even the birds were silent. Ethan tightened his grip on the reins. Every instinct told him to turn back, but he continued forward. Hours passed. Then suddenly his horse stopped. The animal refused to move. Ethan looked ahead. A massive wolf stood in the middle of the path. But this was no ordinary wolf. Its eyes glowed bright green. Its fur shimmered like silver, and it was larger than any horse. The beast growled. The sound echoed through the forest. Ethan slowly stepped backward. His heart pounded. The wolf lowered its head, preparing to attack. Then something unexpected happened. Ethan noticed a deep wound on the creature's leg. Blood stained its fur. The wolf wasn't hunting. It was suffering. Carefully, Ethan raised his hands. "I'm not your enemy." The wolf growled again, but this time there was pain in the sound, not anger. Pain. Slowly, Ethan approached. The beast could have killed him instantly, yet it remained still, trusting him. Ethan placed a hand on the wounded leg. Golden light flowed from his palm. The wound began healing. The torn flesh closed. The blood disappeared. Moments later, the injury was gone completely. The wolf stared at Ethan in disbelief. Then it did something even stranger. It bowed its head, as if showing respect. For several seconds, they simply looked at each other. Then the creature turned and disappeared into the trees. Ethan smiled. Perhaps the wizard had been right. Power used for kindness created allies. That night, Ethan camped beside a river. A small fire crackled nearby. For the first time in days, he felt hopeful. Then a branch snapped. Ethan immediately stood. Someone was there, watching. A shadow moved between the trees. Then another, and another. 5 masked riders emerged from the darkness. Malric's spies. Their leader removed his sword. Lord Malric sends his greetings. Ethan's heart sank. The spies had found him. The leader pointed his blade. Surrender. Ethan backed away. I won't. The men laughed. One of them charged forward. Ethan had never been a warrior. He was a farmer. But survival leaves little choice. The sword swung. Ethan barely dodged. The blade missed him by inches. Another rider attacked. Then another. Suddenly, Ethan heard a familiar growl. A powerful shape burst from the forest. The giant silver wolf. It slammed into one of the attackers. The man flew from his horse. Chaos erupted. The wolf fought like a storm. The remaining riders panicked. Within minutes, they fled into the darkness. The forest became quiet once more. The wolf stood beside Ethan. Neither spoke. Neither needed to. The creature had repaid its debt. Then, just as before, it vanished into the shadows. Ethan realized something important. Kindness was becoming his greatest weapon. Several days later, he reached the Crystal Mountains. Towering peaks stretched into the clouds. Snow covered every surface. The air was freezing. Travel became slow and dangerous. Yet somewhere beyond these mountains lay the ancient temple and the heart seed. According to the wizard, it was the only thing capable of protecting the world tree. Ethan climbed higher and higher. Eventually, he discovered something astonishing. A staircase carved directly into the mountain itself. Ancient, weathered, forgotten by time. At the top stood enormous stone doors, the entrance to the temple. His heart raced. He had found it. After all this time. After all the da and